Who Dat Ninja.
Hello, welcome to episode 68 of Chet and John's Reassuringly Finite Gaming Playlist. My name is John Denton. With me this week is my good friend Samuel Roberts.
Hello, how's it going?
So Samuel is the editor of Games TM. I've known Samuel for about 6 years?
Many years. Me and John, we go way back. We've both pissed on the same freeway in New York at the same time.
Very true.
We've got many memories.
That is actually a true story. So, Samuel, editor of Games TM, veteran games journalist, and brilliantly has been out at E3 in the last week. Chet's fucked off somewhere. He's due a week off, apparently. But anyway, Samuel's going to bring a noise, and here's his number 10.
Absolutely. My number 10 is Haircut Mr. Bean version. Now, you can't have been expecting that, but basically, I'm a big fan of the podcast, and I always listen every week. And Chet always comes out with some games that I've never heard of on Xbox Live Indie Games, which he must be the only one keeping that platform alive. But they've always got names like, Colonel Custer's Magic Muff and things like that. And I kind of wanted to bring something a bit random, so I went onto iTunes Store. I downloaded this game, Haircut Mr. Bean version. I suspect not the reason Rowan Atkinson's got an OBE or whatever, but yeah, the biggest pile of ass in the world. Has the most low-res picture of cartoon Mr. Bean on the menu screen. The point of the game seems to be cutting people's hair while a professional barber, is looking away. That seems to be the premise. I assume haircut is some kind of, template for different types of games, but absolute pile of shit.
So when he's looking, you're not allowed to cut hair?
Basically, yeah. I mean, he gets really angry and then it's game over. And the barber, weirdly, to kind of know that he's going to be turning away so he can start cutting the person's hair, the barber starts dreaming about a glass of water. Now, who the fuck dreams about a glass of water? That I don't understand. It's really weird. But yeah, it's rubbish. But I thought I'd give it a go. And I was punished for my mistake.
It's officially licensed Mr. Bean merchandise.
Yeah, basically. I think this is the state of the modern license game.
Did Rowan Atkinson just make it on his own, do you think?
I hope so. Or he got his kids to make it or something, just to inflate his ego.
Damn. I never knew that existed, but I feel better for knowing that it exists.
John, it serves me right for looking at the free part of the iTunes Store, really. It serves me right for, getting my great game design from there.
Yeah, well, I've done it myself, and it's always a bad idea. Talking of bad ideas, my number 10 is Mario Kart Super Circuit, which I've written as Mario Kart SS on my notes, and it says Circuit certainly doesn't begin with S. I put this on. I had the 3DS open, and it was one of those free present games that you got for buying a 3DS for about $9,000 when they cut the price a week later. So they gave us 10 fucking kilobyte games. And the first one I put on yesterday was Mario Kart Super Circuit because my little boy likes Mario, and I said, "Do you want to watch Mario in the car?" And he's like, "Yeah." I put it on, and what a fucking nightmare that game is. It's just like a stroke in a jar. It's fucking just an absolute horror show. So I put it on for a minute. The handling's terrible, and the frame rate and everything about it was just like, I don't know, being drilled in the head by a fucking 90s Saturday morning cartoon, not in a good way. So I had to turn it straight off. Mario Grain. I got Mario Grain.
Fair enough. I mean, I actually played that quite recently as well because I too was suckered into buying a 3DS at a ludicrous price. And it's not really a 3D game. It's basically just like a 2D game. It's impossible to work out the perspective of anything going on the screen.
It's so horrible.
It is the worst thing. I mean, playing the DS ones or the 3DS ones, that just, I don't know. I mean, they are infinitely superior to that version. There will be no reason to go back to it,
Yeah, I did. I never played it back on the GBA, and a horror show, an absolute horror show.
Nice. Well, my number 9. This is when I start sounding like an E3 prick. It was Battlefield 4.
That's all right. That'll annoy Chet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Chet chats about Battlefield every week, and though he says, "I've got nothing more to say about it," he always has something more to say about it. So,
it's normally the longest part of the podcast.
I always enjoy it though because it's kind of like an outside looking in perspective. It's like a little social experiment now. It's fascinating. But I played the level that everyone saw at the EA conference actually, which I can't remember the name of, but
Like Shanghai Surprise or something like that. I'm gonna call it that.
it's basically the one where the skyscraper goes down and the guys jump off the top of the of that roof. That was a great demo. You know, that was one of the most impressive parts of the EA conference.
Yeah.
And I jumped into that with 63 other journalists, PCs hooked up to Xbox One controllers, and had a go. Now, really technically impressive. It does not look quite as good as it did in that demo. I suspect because 64 people, playing at once, it's it's a lot to handle, but still really impressive. Problem is, John, and you'll have a bit of this. Games journalists are the worst fucking gamers in the entire world.
They are atrocious.
Exactly. So twice I thought, well, this can't be played like Call of Duty. You guys have to team up and make the most of it. So one guy was basically, I got in a tank, I got into the turret. One guy was driving, and I was controlling the turret. I basically aimed, I killed 3 people, and this numpty drove the tank off like a little ledge and managed to flip it over. And he literally moved 1 meter to flip it over. And then the same thing happened again. I spawned in like a gunboat and I was on the turret, and some guy was rocketing like fucking the Rio video from Duran Duran. Like, and honestly, just ploughed into a bridge within 5 seconds of me spawning and died. Honestly, not as slick when games journalists are playing it.
I do wonder what most games journalists are actually any good at, because they'll moan about military shooters, but they're fucking awful at them whenever they play them at an event.
Yeah, I mean, they really are, honestly. It's just embarrassing. I mean, I only kind of really got to grips with it when I was fighting alongside 2 fairly competent assault players, and I had like, support gun going on. I hung around in that skyscraper for fucking ages, hoping it would come down with me inside, like in the demo. Didn't. Just died a bunch of times spawning up there, really.
Did it come down eventually?
No, it didn't. Because
that's cool.
I think... Yeah, so it's not kind of something that's forced every time. I think you have to shoot out specific kind of struts within it to make it fall. But nonetheless, extremely impressive. A really kind of great way to show off that game, even if the games journalists let it down a bit.
Did the Xbox One pads, the stuff that's in the force feedback in the triggers, was that working considering it was plugged into a PC?
I didn't feel it, to be honest.
Okay.
I didn't feel any kind of discernible difference. It is a nice pad, I should say, but no, I wasn't getting any of that coming from it, unfortunately.
Okay. That's interesting. It's cool that it works though on PC, so that's good.
Yeah, it's reassuring. I think it was probably just there for kind of posterity's sake, to show they're kind of, they seem to be quite in bed with Microsoft, don't they, EA, this generation?
It does seem that way, yeah.
Yeah,
all right. Well, that's going to be fucking awesome. I've got no doubt about that.
Absolutely.
And I'll have to hear about it for another year or 2 years or whatever.
Awesome.
All right, my number 9, sticky on the 3DS tip, but mine's not. My list sucks, man, compared to yours. F-Zero. I played this game so much, and I still don't. F-Zero GX.
Maximum Velocity.
F-Zero Maximum Velocity. I love this game. I loved it on the GBA. It was the first game that came out on the GBA, wasn't it? And I actually mastered it. I did every single thing. I was so good at it that I could like cut every corner to like a fucking millimeter. And now I can't play it for shit. So that was about 10 years ago, and I've just lost all those skills. But it's still really good. That doesn't make me feel sick. The tunes are good. It's nice and fast. I just want them to make a new one.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's been so many years since GX on the GameCube.
Yeah, they're always rock hard, those games, aren't they, as well? But it's like compared to Mario Kart that you mentioned before, like the kind of 3D plane effect doesn't, like you say, make you feel sick. It's not got the same kind of stroke in a jar effect as
no, it's
Mario
not.
Kart.
It's nowhere near as bad. Yeah, it's good.
Big fan of that series. Those most of those games they gave away on the 3DS are actually pretty good, aren't they?
They are. I mean, it's a hell of a selection. It's a bit of a slap in the face. I think because I've been bitten again because I bought a Wii U for God knows how much, and I've turned it on not once in the last 3 months. Yeah, disappointing. But still, Pikmin.
Yeah, well, hopefully I'll be able to turn you around with my number 8, John, which is Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U.
Brilliant.
Again, sounding like a massive prick from going to E3 and playing all these fancy games. I promise you there's a little bit of shit old stuff in here as well. Basically I played 3 tracks from the game. First, HD Mario Kart. I'm sure you saw in the Nintendo Direct thing, they're kind of messing with the perspective a bit to kind of give it a bit of a, I don't know, sort of Mario Galaxy quality where
can you go up on the ceilings and stuff?
Yeah, side of buildings, that sort of stuff. Okay. You kind of hit these sort of blue gravity bars, and then from there you can sort of shift the perspective. So there's one level set in this sort of seaside town that looks amazing because it's like obviously this big kind of coastline, and you can see right into the distance. And there is a noticeable amount of detail compared to past Mario Kart games. It does look amazing. And yeah, like at one point I just hit the blue bar and I was riding up the side of these kind of like Santa Monica-esque sort of like seaside buildings, and I thought that's actually quite cool because it enables you to think about the track design in a bit of a different way. Wasn't personally a massive fan of the gliding thing in the 3DS version, so yeah, a bit of a relief, and thoroughly enjoyed. I think it will be very, very good and well received, and the kind of gravity stuff gives them a lot more capacity for interesting track design.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit burnt out on Mario Kart. I did enjoy the 3DS version, less so the Wii version. I played it a bit, but it's always got potential to be a really good online game. And yeah, with the Wii U actually working online, it needs something, man. It needs something like that desperately, and it's not coming out for what, a year?
Yeah, exactly. It's a tough one, isn't it? Because I think a desperate Nintendo is a good Nintendo, because we're looking at 3DS now, loads more good games coming out, but I don't feel like we'll see the effects of their kind of creative desperation for a while yet, and this unfortunately is quite a way away. But I think when it turns up, you'll be in the mood for it again.
It's weird that they've just chosen to use the screen as a horn instead of actually using it for anything. I actually prefer that because I like running the Wii U games just on the pad itself. I don't need any tablet integration or whatever. It doesn't really bother me, but it is strange that it's suddenly become almost a non-feature of their console.
Yeah, it's strange. Yeah, the other thing is that on the screen is you can hit a button, so you can use the motion control within the tablet. It works, but you would not want to use it over the sticks anytime. You know, it makes power slides easier, but fuck it, a waste of time, honestly. Yeah. And hitting the horn, even the person demoing the game to me admitted that hitting the horn doesn't do anything. I was like, brilliant, well done. This peripheral was well worth it.
Yeah, glad I paid the extra £150 for this console to get that. Thanks.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I liked it though. I think I think that traditional Mario Kart fans will find a lot to love about it.
Did you have to stand and listen to Reggie talk for an hour? And were you there for that?
Oh yeah, I did. Oh dear, they wheeled out all of Nintendo's developers, and I suppose I should have seen the novelty in that, but really I was belligerently stood next to the 3D Mario demo booth, ready to jump on it as soon as he stopped talking. So yeah, I think I ultimately won that day.
I think so. Yeah, you beat Reggie, nice. Right, my number 8 is Dear Esther on PC, a game that I've heard so much about and even talked about a little bit myself without ever having played it. Yeah, I didn't think I'd like it, and I don't. It is a game where you walk around an island and then a fucking man says stuff. I assume that you are the man that's saying stuff. Excuse me. I'm not going to say the writing's bad, because it's not bad. I mean, you know, to say writing's bad in video game world is it's like incoherent sentences and stuff. But I grew up on an island. This game is set on an island, walking around the cliffs and beaches and stuff like that. That's stuff that I've done, and it just reminds me of when I was about 17 and a real fucking emotional dickhead, and I'd like walk around at night on the beach just fucking being angry at the world. And I don't want to do that in a video game unless I get to do something else, and it doesn't appear like you get to do anything else. You just get to walk around, and after about 10-15 minutes I was just like, fuck this, I could go home and do this, and it's like real waves. So yeah, Dear Esther.
Yeah, I got the impression that game it did, like you say, it reminded me of the sort of 15-year-old kid within you who sort of thinks too much about the world and is actually just thinking a load of sort of like one-dimensional bollocks, but thinks they're fucking in it, man.
Yeah, and nobody gets me, man.
Exactly. And then you realise no, I'm actually a middle-class kid growing up in a small town full of relatively wealthy people. What the fuck am I talking about?
Yeah.
And I thought that some of the reviewers had a bit of the kind of I don't know how people reacted to American Beauty and things like that, or Donnie Darko, where they sort of see too much meaning in something. And I was distracted by the fact that the guy talking reminds me of Keith Stewart from The Guardian when he talks.
I can neither confirm nor deny that. But yeah, I like Keith. I didn't like this guy.
Oh no, of course. I mean, you know, yeah. It seems it's good that it can exist, I guess. I mean, that's probably a positive exponent of the industry we're in now. But yeah, probably not for me.
Yeah, I just wanted something more. You couldn't run or anything, and it's just like it's forcing you to plod. And then, I looked in a cave, and there was nothing. There's nothing in there. You go in a real cave, and there's little crabs and shit. At least have a crab.
Is there nothing in there, John, or did you look in that cave and find yourself?
If only, then I could have run around with myself. That would have been all right.
Absolutely.
Dear Esther 2 on Connect, run around with yourself.
Someone will get absolutely fucking bored of that game and put a chainsaw in there or something, and
Oh,
then
I'm sure
something
it's
to
already
kill it with.
happened. Yeah.
Definitely. But yeah,
I'm not
dear
saying there
Esther.
should be all that sort of stuff. I just, if you're going to make a game that's not really a game, at least have something in there. That for me, the Journey being the perfect example of that.
Yeah,
You know, there is gameplay, there's function and things to do. Looking
it was.
around, and I guess the fact that walking around on fucking cliffs by the sea isn't going to do much for someone who grew up on an island and has lived by the coast his whole life. It's the fucking sea. I don't care.
Yeah, there are systems in Journey. That's the
Mm.
thing. Like, it isn't just walking forward. There is something more to it if you want to give it that.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
completely.
Ah, never mind then. Well, my number 7 is another Wii U game that's coming up. It's a Wonderful 101 from the
Oh
mind.
man, I'm excited about this.
Oh, dude, it's really cool. It's from the mind of I don't know, like how do I describe him? Like Twitter maestro Hideki Kamiya, Devil May Cry creator, Akami creator. He directed Resident Evil 2. I mean, I'm sure you know he is if you listen to this podcast.
Mm.
But this is his Wii U game where you control basically a big group of superheroes, and you use those superheroes to make shapes on the screen, kind of Akami style, I guess. You draw on the screen and they form something. So, for example, like a gun, you draw a gun shape, and they turn into that, like a giant gun on screen, and then you can use it in these kind of combat mechanics and progress through these levels. How interested are you in this game, dude?
Yeah, I mean, I really like Platinum. I really like Kamiya.
Mm.
It looked really cool. It looked like the only game out there that's actually trying to do something with the controller as well. And yeah, I'm pretty hyped for it, to be honest.
Dude, it is very, very cool. I mean, the level we were in was set in like a water slide, which
Right.
like a water park, which I think is a great idea
Yeah.
for a game level. Because who doesn't fucking love water
Yeah,
parks,
that's
slides
great.
and stuff? Yeah, so it's really cool, and every single superhero on screen looks different. Like when you look close at that gamepad, you can see individual character designs, and you go around recruiting more characters as you go, basically. And getting more abilities. Like another example is you draw a squiggly line on the screen and they turn into a whip. And the bigger the squiggly line, the bigger the whip. So there is a sense of that tablet is doing something. It's not just a kind of relentless gimmick. It feels very naturalistic to do. Um, and yeah, I was really impressed by it. The art direction is just fantastic. I just worry it's one of those games that won't find an audience on Wii U because the user base is just so small.
Oh, it won't. No, it'll sell like 8 copies. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit depressing. But yeah, hopefully it'll be one of those games that just people pick up over time.
Mm.
But yeah, I think it's great that this kind of game can exist on here. And you would think with superheroes and the I don't know the sort of art direction of it that it might find an audience, but I suppose it's in that beautiful Joe category really, where it's a bit too stylized
It's
for people
tough,
to really
isn't it?
respond to it.
I mean, I said that flippantly, but if marketed right, I mean, Nintendo have managed to make things that you wouldn't necessarily deem popular, insanely popular, like Professor Layton,
Mm.
which, is ultimately quite an unusual little thing, but
Yeah.
it's sold billions of copies because of they know how to market stuff like that. So I think if the game's accessible enough, then but the problem is no one has a Wii U.
No,
Only
one has
I
a Wii
have
U.
one.
I have one as well, but only because it was £150 for like one
Oh,
weekend.
no.
So
Yeah, that's literally less than half what I paid for it in November.
I'm really sorry, John. I mean, I didn't do it to hurt you, but
It's okay. It's fine.
But yeah, I mean, basically, it's the kind of hard sell I think is the fact that it's a strategy game and an action game at the same time.
Mm.
So you are looking down on a big group of guys, and you kind of select. You can when your guys get knocked out, you have to draw a circle around them to kind of bring them back and get them back into your group, kind of pick them up and move on. So in that way, it looks like a sort of top-down strategy game, which is, I mean, let's face it, this could not have a worse chance of selling. Everything is stacked against it. It's not a popular genre. I mean, it's by a studio that basically just churns out cult hits.
Yeah.
Really kind of strong games with their own sort of identity and stuff. But I really don't think people will find this. But I think it'll be like the games journalist's favorite game of the year. Just something really unique, really cool. And it's Kamiya. He doesn't make bad games.
No, absolutely not.
So I'm really psyched about it.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. I am definitely pumped for it.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I just want more stuff like that on Wii U.
Yeah.
More
And hopefully we'll
interesting
get it.
things. Yeah, I hope so.
Bayonetta too.
Yeah, that too. And yeah, I mean, still kind of excited for Pikmin, although I never really played the other two. But yeah.
Early days, isn't it? Can't write off a console this early.
Oh yeah, no, not writing it off. And people who write off Nintendo as a company are mental because
I know.
they forget that that's the same. It's the same people who make the 3DS. They're the same people, so don't worry about it.
Exactly.
They'll be all right.
And people were saying all this stuff about the 3DS before it got a price cut a
Yeah,
few years ago. So it's quick that these things change.
yeah, definitely. Definitely. Right, my number 7 is a game called Capsized on PC. Now, this was part of the Humble Indie Bundle that I picked up a few weeks ago. That was absolutely outstanding value. And it was one of the few games that I hadn't heard of on there or to know much about anyway. Have you heard of Capsized?
I have, because I bought the same indie bundle,
Oh, okay.
but again, it was the game I hadn't heard of.
So it's yeah, I only played a little bit of it. It's a 2D side-scrolling platform shooter with physics puzzles in it. It seems to tick all the indie boxes. It has like cool synth music, cool art design, kind of cool mechanics that aren't as refined as they could be, but you let them off because you kind of like the fact that they're trying cool things. A little bit lacking in something, a little bit lacking in panache. 2D platform games are tough. The bar's so high for the best ones, whether it's pure platforming like Mario or something like Limbo, or Braid stuff, or even a game like Mark of the Ninja, which isn't a platformer. This didn't grab me in any way, shape or form like those games, but there's a good game in there with good ideas and good style. It's tough. It's going to be difficult when there's so many games to play. Even in the summer, it's going to be tough for me to spend a lot of time on a game that doesn't really grab me or shock me or blow my mind straight out of the bat. Whatever. But yeah, it's likable, and the price you paid for it was like amazing. So
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, usually you buy these humble bundles because they've got 2 or 3 games you really like, and you are supporting a good cause. So, and let's face it, everyone puts in like $3 or whatever. So, I'm sure it's limited success for charity, but it's still a nice thing. And those games pile up, and some of them don't get played, but ultimately you always get something good out of it. So there's really no loss in it, is there?
Well, it does stack up. That if you look on the stats on their site, they regularly push over $1 million every time that they do it. So
No, it's
it
good.
does stack up.
It's one of the best things, because I mean, we're getting games on there now that are like, I don't know, some of them are about 6 or 7 months old, and
Yeah, I know.
we're selling for 12 quid or whatever. It's it's fantastic. I mean, it's probably in many ways it's kind of like, I don't know, it's almost like the future of retail in some strange way, that a lot of people might just buy their PC games like this in future.
It was an outstanding one that time with Hotline Miami in there, Dear Esther, which isn't my cup of tea, but it's clearly a quality product. This is good. Little Inferno is really cool. So I can't remember what else is there. Awesome Noughts. I'm not interested in playing that, but yeah, there's a hell of a bundle.
That's cool. So what kind of style does Capsized borrow from? Like, what's the kind of theme to it, really, visually?
Visually, it's it's kind of like an Amiga game, but with obviously much sharper visuals. Stylistically, it doesn't seem to have much of an identity. It seems to be, while it looks nice, like the enemy design and stuff, and the alien world that you kind of floating about on, it didn't have enough. Do you know what I mean? It was just like, I've seen all this before in component parts. There's nothing. Limbo being the obvious example is like, wow, I've never felt anything like this before.
Yeah.
And even a game like that, what was that? I think it was called Deadlight, which wasn't that good a game in the end, but it was incredibly stylistic. The 2D sort of apocalyptic one. This doesn't achieve those sort of levels. But I don't want to be down on it, because it's clearly like a well-made, good game. But it just, I played some amazing indie games in the last year, and this straight away wasn't really on that level.
Okay, fair enough. Well, yeah, I might check that out at some point.
Yeah, you got it there, haven't you?
Absolutely. Well, my number 6 is Need for Speed Rivals.
Oh man, I'm excited about this.
It's it's really impressive. Definitely one of the top 5 games I saw at E3 this year. It was running on PS4, which I thought was interesting, because obviously, EA, Microsoft, whatever. It looked amazing. There's a few reports going around about PS4 games looking a bit muddy, or the frame rate not being as high, and all this sort of stuff. Did not get it from this game whatsoever. This is exactly what I thought next gen would look like. The weather effects are, I mean, you've probably seen in the trailers already, just ridiculously strong. It's very kind of melodramatic. I was playing this kind of multiplayer mode. It's obviously kind of cops and robbers stuff going on. I was on the cop side, ramming people off the road, using EMP blasts, and then just sort of like ploughing into them. Kind of this long sort of countryside style track, but honestly, just amazing. The look of it is the most impressive thing about it, and the way that cars kind of scream past you. The sound design is very sharp, made by this group of people, Ghost Games, who were basically formed out of part of DICE and then expanded on with great sort of racing developers from around the world, and will hopefully break Need for Speed out of that cycle where it's got one good Criterion game and then one shit one and then back to the good Criterion game. Honestly amazing. And I was winning for a while, then I faltered and it was embarrassing. And so honestly, it's just fantastic. The physics are incredible. It's the most kind of like Fast and Furious style, I don't know, gravity defying kind of racing game I think I've seen from that franchise to date. And it looks incredible. Honestly, I'm just really excited about it.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited. When I saw, because when it was announced, I was like, oh, it's the off year, so I don't care. But then when I saw Craig Sullivan come out on stage at the EA conference, he was he headed up Most Wanted, and so I was like, oh shit, they've got him in charge of it. That suggests that they're going to do it properly. And then when I read up on what Ghost Games actually were, with the pedigree they've got, people from Bizarre, people from Criterion, people from Playground, a few other places, it does seem like you say that they want to re-establish it as you get that consistency back. And damn, it looks fucking good. Did you get your head around how it works with the online stuff?
What, in terms of like the?
It seemed to be like overlapping online games. That seems to be a theme at the moment for next gen, like two people's online games suddenly join in with each other.
No, I didn't really get that because I guess we were probably on LAN connection because there's a bunch of games journalists there. No, I'm not sure I really got my head around that, and I went through the kind of secret behind doors, but it's not really secret, but behind closed doors. It's just a racing game, but yeah, behind closed doors presentation, and I didn't really get my head around that. No, that does sound interesting though, like in terms of design, and pretty ambitious.
Yeah, there's loads of games that seem to be doing that. Destiny and things like that. But I'm really intrigued by how all that stuff's going to work. But yeah, the game looked fucking sweet.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's actually like a collaboration with Criterion as well, isn't it? So so their hand is in this as well. Like I feel like they're onto a winner. I don't see how they can mess it up. It's just too many good people. Like the person I was interviewing, game designer, she used to work at Turn 10 as well. So that's the kind of level of talent you're dealing with. It's awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm pumped for that. Definitely. bit of a funny one now. Number 6 is Mount Your Friends, which Chet talked about last week, and is suddenly blown up. It was mentioned by someone else at the same time, but I still think he can lay claim to it because now it was on Eurogamer today and everything like that. It is. Did you get a chance to check it out?
I didn't, but
was this
the one with the limb genital?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So it is a very, very strange game. 2D little muscly wrestler men, or weightlifting powerlifters or something. They're cool, whatever. One starts by standing on a goat, and then another comes along, and you use the 4 face buttons to move each individual limb across, like a bit like the Quap guy, but more sturdy. And then you use that every time, say, his arm touches the tower, that will stick. So you can use that as like a fulcrum or something. And then you sort of get them up and try and build the highest tower that you can. It's hilarious. The soundtrack's amazing. Like Chet said, it's just like superhero / Hallmark TV special end of the movie music interspersed with
That's an amazing combination.
And just a splendid and hilarious game that as much as I enjoyed it on my own, I just really wanted to play it with other people in the room with booze for 80 points, which I have no idea what that is in real money, but I assume it's 80p. Is it 68p?
68p. How amazing is that?
That is.
That's I'll have to check that out because I didn't realise Eurogamer picked up on it as well, because I thought it would be another kind of Chet curio, really. That like what's it called? Be Quiet, something like that.
Yeah.
Quiet Please. That's
Quiet
it.
Please. Yeah.
But no, I'm glad to hear it's getting picked up because I do sometimes worry about that sort of platform. So I'll check that out. 80 points. That's nothing. I'll definitely get on that.
Well, like Chet said, at least get the trial because it's fucking funny.
Because you really can't picture it, like. And you really can't imagine what that music is either. No. So I think I'll check that out.
The sense of humour is just bang on.
That's good. Well, I get the impression that you and Chet very much share that because there was a game with a cat in the suit in the boardroom as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I get the impression you're both into that sort of slight oddness,
Yes, yeah, we like strange shit. I definitely do. But you know that about me anyway.
Absolutely, that's awesome. My number 5 is Zelda Oracle of Seasons on the Game Boy Color. basically on the 3DS now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know these games that well?
Did I play these ones, or did I play? Yeah, did I play these ones? These were the. Yeah, there was a bit of two of them.
Yeah, that's right. They were both released at the same time on like red and blue cartridges.
That's right.
And,
yeah, I played one of them.
Yeah,
Either this one or the other one.
Somehow they passed me by. What I never realised is that they're basically sequels to Link's Awakening, just with a few more systems attached and a different story and setting. But they're very stylistically, exactly the same. But I downloaded these. They were kind of at a reduced price right now. I'm not sure if they still will be when this podcast goes out, but like £4.49 instead of the usual price, which isn't too bad. Picked them both up. Played a couple of dungeons on my way back from E3, and they were. It was amazing, actually. Like it's amazing how much of the kind of spirit of Zelda they managed to get onto a handheld. And the Seasons one basically means that when you're traveling around the world, the kind of weather is fucked up and needs to be set right and all this sort of stuff. You know what Zelda storylines are like. They're just loose or whatever. But amazing. Like you've got these kind of bracelets to think about, which basically are they're kind of like perks really, where they allow you to be immune to certain attacks or stronger against certain enemies.
This is the one I played. I think this is the one I've played. Yeah.
That's cool, and for a Game Boy Color game, really does look amazing. Considering there's 8 or 9 colors on that thing. Honestly, just it looks fantastic and really good and really worth picking up.
Yeah, they're made by Capcom, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. I think they have that Flagship Studio. I believe they made it. I think they used to make a lot of Capcom's handheld titles. But yeah, very very cool.
Yeah, damn. So they're kind of like the sequels to Link's Awakening, but now we're getting a real sequel to Link's Awakening. Yeah,
basically. They're just very, very impressive. Like both, I believe both games have quite similar premises and stories, but play with mechanics in a slightly different way. Very curious decision by Nintendo. I'm guessing at the time they were cashing in on that Pokemon Red and Blue thing, where people felt like they needed to own both.
Yeah.
Either way, it's some fantastic game design and just the sort of Zelda I like, where there's no sort of distractions. It's kind of down the line, great dungeon design, and a real kind of sense of exploration and place, even though the hardware is so minimal compared to today's standards.
Yeah, I forgot those games existed. Yeah, that's cool. Right, complete change of tack for my number 5. After playing Dear Esther, I was I'm gonna fucking play that Amnesia game again because that's like this but way better. And so I played that for about 40 minutes before we started this podcast, and it's fucking horrendous, man. It's horrendous. It's so horrible to play. Like the whole time you're playing it, it's got the sound. It sounds like a cockroach just crawling on your eardrum, and then it sounds like someone vomited up a violin, and it's fucking horrible. People say that horror games are kind of dead, and they kind of are in mainstream at the moment. I think they're making a comeback, but this is just nasty. It is kind of has that kind of disconnected feeling that the classic Silent Hills have as well. Like you're not quite there, and you're not quite. Everything's just a little bit off, and even when it's not trying to like overly obviously scare you. And when it is trying to scare you, it does it pretty fucking effectively. It kicks Slender Man right in his fucking neck as well. It pisses on it. Proper. I've talked about it before on the podcast as well, but it really it gets what makes things scary. Anybody can just jump out in front of you. I could go and do that right now to my wife, and it would scare the crap out of her. But there's no skill involved. There's no talent. A real creeping, gnawing sense of dread is, you can't just knock that up on a weekend. That takes skill and precision and fucking weird brains as well. I'm sure the guys that make these games are some twisted fucks, but yeah, it's an ordeal. Amnesia: Dark Descent is an ordeal, and I can only play it in small chunks because it's just unpleasant. It makes me feel a bit queasy.
Yeah, every screenshot I see of it, like the one I actually saw one today for some reason, and there's a fucking big mouth on the side of a wall, and it's just the most oppressive, nasty-looking thing. And yeah, every time I take a look at footage of that game, I just think, I like the idea of playing through it, but I'll never get through it. It's just too much.
Yeah, I bought it because it was like £1 on the Steam sale, I think, or even less than that, like 80p. So yeah, it was definitely worth it. If you do see it for that price, do get it, because you might want to stick it on Monday just to see.
Definitely.
It's just very, very slow burn, but even if you don't get that far in it, it's sort of cool to see what people are doing in that space. that isn't fucking Dead Space with its microtransactions bollocks.
Big respect for anyone who's doing proper, horror game design in 2013, because I had a little look at the Evil Within recently, and that seems to be going on a similar route. But I don't know, they've really hit on something here. They've made the rest of that genre look completely mainstream by comparison, which hopefully should jolt a lot of game designers into challenging that.
Did you play the Evil Within?
Afraid not. I just saw it, and it was
I'm
fucking messed up, mate.
Yeah, I will play anything Mikami has his hand in at any point. So yeah, I'm pumped for that. Definitely.
He never lets us down.
I don't think he ever has. I was actually thinking about this the other day. His track record's ridiculous. Vanquish, God Hand, going backwards here. Like, what was before that?
Resi 4.
Resi 4, Devil May Cry, Resi
1.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Good effort. Yeah. That's a solid effort.
A star.
Yeah.
Dino Crisis as well. He did that.
Oh shit! Yeah.
That man knows what he's doing.
He does.
My number 4 is Thief on PlayStation 4. This is my second to last of these next gen games. I got an hour hands on with Thief, which I feel very lucky about, because a lot of people in the room were being thrown out, but I think no one noticed I was really there. So
sneaky, getting into the role. Nice.
Absolutely. Well, I'm very method, John. You know that about me.
Yeah.
I was really impressed by it. I think in terms of the way it looked, I don't think it looked massively next gen. I mean, the textures.
It's next gen, is it? It's I've not been keeping up on Thief.
No, it's next gen only, and PC. And I mean, it's sort of, the art direction is really nice. They've kind of scaled back on the supernatural aspects, and they're just honing in on that kind of sort of Victorian style grime of the streets, basically, which you've seen a bit of in Dishonored, but it's a little less stylized than that, a little more realistic. And it takes a while to get used to, actually, because, it's sort of like a middle ground between the original Thief games and a little bit of Deus Ex Human Revolution there as well.
Okay.
I mean, the level I played, basically, you start in this courtyard and you've got to sneak into this house, this mansion, and then there's kind of multiple routes to get in. You can go in via the sewers. There's a front door, which you're kind of advised not to go through, and then there's a side entrance as well. And it's the kind of game where if you are caught, you are fucked. It's not like Deus Ex, where you can... Deus Ex, I thought you could basically fight your way out of any situation, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, exactly. You had those kind of powerful melee moves and stuff like that. If there's more than 2 enemies in this, you won't get out of it, right. which I like. I died about 10 times in the first section, and then after that, I didn't really die in combat at all, because I felt like I learned the systems right away. And so I basically snuck in via like a side entrance, and I found that the whole of the mansion level was like a puzzle box, really. Like I kept getting killed by traps. You have to use this sort of like sense mechanic to find switches to turn traps off. I mean, if you play detective mode in like Arkham City, you kind of get the deal.
Yeah.
It works really well. I mean, it makes you think about it made me think about level design in a kind of way that I don't normally think about anymore. I don't consider my surroundings and that there's any actual danger to walking through it. Now, it's just kind of functional, isn't it, in most settings? Like, you expect to see tripwires and things like that. Much more subtle in this. You'll open a door into a bedroom, and then a dart from like a side chamber will just hit you, and then you'll be dead. And it feels harsh at first, but you learn to get around it. And then it mixes that with this last final section where, after you've stolen the object you're looking for, you're kind of running across this giant London Bridge style bridge, which is burning and falling down around you. And that's amazing as well. And that has multiple routes. You can scuttle over the roof, and if you land on like a soft panel, you'll fall through to the fire, and you have to make your way through there. Really impressive stuff, man.
That sounds really cool. I've kind of ignored it because I never played Thief. I wasn't a PC gamer then, and it just looked so similar to Dishonored, but without teleporting. And I just thought, I don't know if I've got time in my life for that. But that makes it sounds almost pushing into kind of a Dark Soulsy territory where it was way more punishing.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think Dishonored ever had... I mean, I love Dishonored. I think it's fantastic. And while it does have a similar kind of multiple approach sort of system to it, in this I felt like like you say, the amount of times you die in it is much more kind of Dark Souls. It really is quite punishing. I don't think Dishonored ever quite had that. I feel like you could use your powers to find a way out of there.
Yeah, especially in the second half of the game.
Exactly, that you can bomb through it. I don't think you'll be able to bomb through this in any way, shape or form. You will always have to think about your surroundings no matter what you're doing, and that to me is pretty exciting. Yeah.
And it's not out till next year, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I imagine it'll be late next year, but No, enormously promising. I really can't wait to see more on it. Like you, I'm not, I'm a little bit familiar with the series, but
Mm.
not massively so. This seems to continue its legacy quite well in kind of mixing a little bit of horror elements in with the kind of stealth stuff. And I think a lot of people will like it. And by then, people put enough distance between that and Dishonored to sort of enjoy it.
True, yeah, true. That'll be a couple of years by then, won't it?
Definitely.
Yeah, alright. Yeah, that sounds alright. Fucking hell, my number 4 is so shit compared to yours. Actually, that's not fair, it's a good game, but it's Scurvy Scallywags on the iPhone. This is the Ron Gilbert Match 3 game that one of our listeners, a mutual friend of ours, in fact, Ashley Day, who now works for Nintendo, suggested that I play, so I did. And yeah, he was right, it's very good. It is basically Zookeeper / which is is Bejeweled the Match 3 one? It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that, but with a kind of, not an action element, but like, it has more to it. Basically, you're a little pirate, and your pirate is on the grid, and as you're doing your Match 3 shit, some of it will be little swords, and that gives him more power. Some of it will be gold, so he can get some more gold and whatnot. And enemies will come on the grid as well. So say you match 3 up, and then like the stuff slides down to make the grid hold again, as it does in those games. It will move, the enemy will move you, and then eventually you have to kill the enemies on the grid, so eventually they'll meet up with each other, and then as long as you've got more power than them, you'll probably kill them. And there's like quest items and things like that. It's really nicely made, it's quite funny, it's very, very him, very Gilbert. It's just good, it's a good game. When you're playing the basic Match 3 stuff, it's like, you've done it a million times before, but the fact that they managed to find a clever twist that feels like it was actually worth making rather than they just made it for the sake of it. Yeah, it's cool. It's definitely gonna stay on rotation on my iPhone for a while. And even though it was £1.49 as opposed to 69p, there's no in-apps. Nobody's bothering me. There's no adverts. It's just a game. And
Nice.
as a fucking old crotchety old man, I definitely like that. I'm prepared to pay what is essentially still fuck all for a good game made by good people that is happy to be a game, isn't trying to be a business.
Definitely. Well, I feel that way about. I mean, I know that Ron Gilbert's left Double Fine since he made the Cave, but I feel like, excuse me, that all of Double Fine's games feel like they're built on familiar formulas, but it's their tone that really sets them apart.
Yeah.
And the kind of quality assurance as well. They sort of know what they're doing when it comes to quality game design.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't feel like they're the sort of designers who would ever willingly rip off their audiences.
No, totally. And this is, yeah, it definitely is. It's a good game. It's not something that I'd say like fucking get it immediately. It's not like Super Hexagon or New Star Soccer, but those only come around once every now and then. But yeah, I mean, a cool twist on a very familiar genre. But I think people get a kick out of it, especially if you like pirates. I don't really give a shit about pirates. That whole pirate thing doesn't fucking do anything for me. But he obviously loves pirates. Old Ron Gilbert, crazy motherfucker.
Absolutely. No, I might check that out. Actually, that sounds like a
It is
good
pretty
time
good.
waster.
Yeah, and YouTube it at least so you can see what the deal is, and you probably go, oh yeah, that's actually a cool idea. I'm surprised no one's thought about it before. And I've said that, and I bet someone has thought about it before, and it's like a massive rip off, and there's a controversy, and I'm the worst.
But I won't worry about it, John. I will check it out.
I've already stopped worrying about it. It's all good.
That's wonderful. No harm done. My number 3 is Super Mario 3D World on Wii U.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. I mean, it was the first game I played at that Wii U showcase thing where Reggie was talking for ages about nothing, and Mario was talking about games journalists on a big.
Did he
screen.
Did he say your name, or was it just
No,
American games journalist?
Oh, it's just America. It was just the ones that everyone's heard of.
It's just the real games journalist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Brian Crescentes of this world and things like that.
He's got beautiful hair.
Not he does. I wish I knew which conditioner he used. But yeah, not the kind of shit munchers like you and me. They're not going to get wheel out Charles Martinet for the likes of me. So. but yeah, basically, Nintendo stand was really well set up at this E3. They had all the games around, and while the structure of that event wasn't particularly good, I played one level of Mario 3D World and went back later and was thankfully let into the VIP area where I got to sample every level they had on display. So I ended up playing for a good while. It's very much built on that Super Mario 3D Land template, where obviously you have these kind of like widescreen levels where they're built a little bit in the image of the 2D Mario games, but there's a little bit of Galaxy's sort of like design ingenuity creeping in there as well.
Yeah.
And they've introduced pipes, which doesn't sound very exciting when I put it like that, because we all know what pipes are and they're not that exciting. But you just kind of head through these, and they're basically like on rails, sort of like quick transport things where you've got to avoid obstacles within them that are kind of cycling round and get out of the other side of the pipe without dying. It's a small kind of mechanic thing, but it changes up the pace a little bit. I also played it in co-op, and that works really well. I imagine it's really hard to do a proper 3D sort of co-op platform game, but it keeps you in good stead. Like the new Super Mario Brothers Wii U, it'll put a bubble around the other character and bring them back to you if they kind of wander off screen. But that didn't happen much anyway. It was quite easy to kind of keep up with, just because you've got obviously a HD screen. You can see a lot of the environment, and it's hard to get lost from each other. And it was really good fun, I mean, it felt almost exactly like 3D Land, except you have this new cat thing. Again, cat and pipes. These are their USPs. I mean,
cat and pipes.
Nintendo, can you make this easier for me? But basically, yeah, it's that kind of turns you into a bit of a belligerent bellend, where you're just sort of running into enemies and just sort of smacking them up and running really quickly and stuff. But it was really, really nice. I mean, I love 3D Land. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
And people seemed quite dampened by Nintendo's E3 showing this year.
I think people had decided that they were going to make something that was even more out there than Galaxy, and when they didn't, they were like, "Oh, they're the worst."
Exactly, and I think everyone forgot how much they like 3D Land as well.
Yeah,
Well,
they had decided that there was going to be a proper new Zelda and Super Mario Universe or something, and they just had that. They didn't happen to make those games right now.
Yeah, exactly. I honestly don't know what the next step up from Galaxy would have been in terms of that visual side of things. He would have just been running up the side of God or something. I don't know where you go from where they've already been, but I thought 3D Land was one of the most creative Mario games and had some fantastic level design, and I don't know why people are getting so down about it. I suppose it's because it feels so familiar, No, I honestly thought it was fantastic, and it's the sort of game I bought my Wii U for, and I know it won't let me down, and I mean, that kind of division of Nintendo knows what they're doing, and it looks fantastic as well. This is obviously the first HD Mario game, and the environmental design is great. It's what you expect it to be gameplay wise, but then all Mario games are in a way. You sort of know what you're getting. It's just you're hoping for great level design around that, and I thought it was really good fun.
Yeah, well, 3D Land's amazing. I've still got a lot of that game to play as well, which is cool, because I'm on the second half of it now, and it gets pretty hard. So, I'm pumped. I still need to finish Super Mario Wii U, New Super Mario Wii U, whatever the fuck it's called. What's that Luigi shit all about? Is it just the same, but the levels are shorter?
I can't really work it out. It is DLC, so I assume there's some new stuff in there, because it's quite expensive, and it's coming on a disc.
Yeah.
It's a weird one, isn't it? They haven't really properly explained what it is. So people might even think it's a new game and not have the original, and think... I don't know. It's a weird one. I don't really know what they're playing out there, and it's out the same day as Pikmin 3. You'd think they kind of space their very few releases out a little bit.
Oh well, good on them, I guess.
Bless Nintendo.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that does sound good actually. Yeah. I'm still reasonably high on Nintendo, but I think that's because of the game I'll talk about in a minute. Before that though, is The Last of Us, which I've been replaying. I'm probably about halfway back through it now. Replaying on hard and doing it really slowly, like really managing my resources much more. I did most of it on hard first time, and it just got too hard because I wasn't playing it slowly enough. So I wouldn't recommend playing on hard, in fact, to anybody who's playing it first time through. But yeah, second time through, just really concentrating. The story and all that sort of stuff isn't really getting me in the same way because it's so fresh. So it's more just purely about the systems, and it does hold up. But I'm more interested. I've talked to loads about this game already, so I'm more interested in. I know you've been playing it. Is it later in your list?
It is, yes. So I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Cool. We'll hold up and talk about it on your one then, I guess. But I mean, I'm very pleased that it seems to have done extremely well, which I kind of knew it would. And that suddenly everybody's going nuts for Troy Baker because he is the fucking man. I saw him interviewed on IGN's Game Over Greggy, or whatever the fuck that guy is. He seems like quite a good guy actually, but Troy Baker came across. He's basically just Bradley Cooper. He's just the same person, and Bradley Cooper's awesome. So yeah, good on you, Troy.
Yeah, good luck to him. I mean, it's interesting because this has been the best-selling new IP on the UK chart since L.A. Noire, isn't it? And it's on one format. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's had a better first week than Uncharted 2. Think of that.
That's mad.
That's mental.
Yeah.
But Yeah, good on Naughty Dog. And like you say, yeah, Troy Baker, he has wonderful hair.
He does have wonderful hair and a great range as well.
Yeah, man can play guitar as well.
Yep. Yeah,
Um,
I rate him.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, we'll come back to it, I guess. But my number two is New Star Soccer. I thought, if there's one game I need to talk about in this podcast, it's this game because I think for both of us, this was a large part of our lives in the past 12 months.
Yes.
It's been prevalent, hasn't it? It's an amazing piece of work, and during E3 when I was in queues waiting for things like Wind Waker HD and stuff like that, I just got it out and just had a few games. I'm currently playing for Sunderland, which is the team my dad supports.
Okay.
I always found something quite funny about Sunderland. I can't explain what it is. It's not funny to mock a football team, but there's sort of something funny about them, like Port Vale and Crewe Alexandra. I don't take them seriously,
You can't take Sunderland seriously.
You really can't. I'm enjoying it because although I didn't really get on with that physics-based patch they added at first, I called it the Subutio patch at the time. It's actually something you really get used to. And it does enrich the game. And the best thing about it, I think, is it's almost like a role-playing game in that you're sort of filling in the blanks yourself,
Yeah, totally.
You get to join any club you want at the end of any season, basically. But in your head, you sort of slowly construct this narrative, And when you're ditching girlfriends left, right, and centre, you're like, this is what a football would do. They would just be a dick who, cheats on their partner and moves on. This is what footballers do, I assume. I mean, not all of them. I bet Muzzy Is It doesn't do that sort of stuff.
Is it?
Or, I don't know, Scott Sinclair.
Muzzy Is It does love an energy drink, though.
Yes, he does. But, I love it. I mean, I'm massively into it again. I think I'm about 6 seasons in. I've got to leave Sunderland soon because it's dragging me down a bit, as it would for any Sunderland player, I imagine. But, no, I love it. I don't
also,
know if
their managers are like outed fascists. So.
Yeah, that's interesting, but I'm sure that'll go down well up there. I'm only joking. But it's a wonderful game.
There's a new update coming soon, isn't there? With a bunch of new stuff in it, apparently.
That's right. Yeah, I mean,
it's like, man, you're insane. Just sell a new game. It's okay.
Yeah, I'll buy it. Buy it. Just change
happily.
The menus a little bit, and then I'll give you another £2. No problem.
Yeah, but, still. I mean, it would technically be on my list every week. I think it's just every time I think that I'm done with it, I just stick it back on, and then 40 minutes goes by. One of the best. It's the best iPhone game. That and Super Hexagon all day.
And you mentioned, it's interesting you mentioned earlier with the Ron Gilbert Pyro game, which I can't remember, is that having a good sort of system in terms of like the economics of playing that game, that makes all the difference, I think. The fact that you pay 10 games in this and then you pay for it, that's perfect to me. That's the way it should always be done. Yeah. If you're hooked, you'll pay it anyway. If you're not hooked, then the game probably wasn't good enough to begin with. That's the time to show your wares.
Yeah, completely. And there's other in-app stuff in there as well, but it never bothers you for it. It's up to you. You can go and find it if you want, but yeah, it's never going to bug you for it. Yeah, an amazing game. Yeah, well done, Simon Reed, as I said many times on this podcast. Right, my number 2 is Animal Crossing New Leaf. I've never played Animal Crossing before. I was obviously fully aware of its work, and I've always meant to play it. I've never had anything against it. In fact, fucking pissing about with weird animals is something that I'd like to do. It's certainly not something I'd ever be ashamed of. But it's a very strange game that to jump in first time, because I mean it takes a bold game to basically let you play it and then go, nah, there's no gameplay till tomorrow, sorry. And it's like, okay, all right then, I guess I'll just turn it off and I'll play tomorrow. Was that what I'm supposed to do? So that's what I did, and then I got my house. I knew all about Tom Nook, that he was some fucking raging capitalist, and you're always in debt to this guy, this fucking raccoon. Already it made me laugh quite a lot, which is great. I was walking around and then I captured a mosquito, and I got a mosquito, and it's like, why you be hating, mosquito? That's just that's a brilliant line that came out of absolutely nowhere. Tonally completely different to anything else in this game. But at the moment I'm waiting. In fact, I'm going to turn it back on after this podcast because a new guy's about to move into my neighbourhood. It's called Rocket. I don't know what he's going to be like. A little bit worried about him. Might mess up the balance at the moment because we've got Ricky, who's a squirrel. Now Ricky, he's got an angry face, but he seems quite happy. He calls me nutcase, and he gave me a shirt with 23 on it, and I was like, Ricky, my favourite number's 22. Everyone knows that. I can't believe you gave me a shirt with 23 on it. So I sent him a letter that just said, you're a mong, and I sent him his shirt back to him. So I'm hoping that he just sits in his house on his own, depressed now, with his little lantern.
It's funny. It's fair enough. everyone in my office who's playing this game
Mm.
talks about it in the same way, like it is their own sort of private, almost adult-like narrative. Um, when I reviewed it, I basically one of the things I mentioned in my review is that I the first thing I did is there's this racehorse in it whose name I can't remember, but he's got a little yellow hat on it. It might be a man actually, not sure. Yeah, can't really work out the genders of horse in Animal Crossing, but basically yeah, I kind of yeah I sent him a direct quote from American Psycho, which is "I want to play with your blood,"
Right.
and then yeah, and I just got like a really happy response. It's like this impenetrable wall of optimism,
Yeah.
and I love that about it. You know, it's just so delightful, even as unrelentingly dark as you want to be.
But there is an element of American Psycho to it, because especially when you go into your pocket, like the menu, and you look at the guy's eyes, and it doesn't have any eyes, and it's just this like vacant death stare staring back at you, and it's like, oh, I've got apples. It's very cool. It's very charming and funny. And despite, I don't need to talk about why Animal Crossing is good. It's been around forever, and I don't know that much about it still. But it certainly grabbed me. One thing I don't get though is I can't seem to go into anyone else's world. I keep going up to that monkey and saying I'd like to travel to a faraway town, and he's like, all right, here's the ones you can go to, and he just gives me a blank sheet, and I feel like sending him a letter, to be honest.
Dear the monkey,
Yeah.
this is not good enough. Yeah.
No, yeah, what are you playing at? Have an apple, have a shirt.
I'll tell you what, actually, it's turned me into a right vengeful motherfucker because basically, one of the animals said to me, "I've got an awesome deal for you. Buy this, right? It's 500 bells." And I went, "Well, I'm not paying 500 bells for it." They were like, "Okay, 300 bells." Gave him 300 bells. It was a fucking pear. It was a fucking pear. I was
he's my
furious
boy.
because, as you all know, John, fruit you can get fruit fucking anywhere in Animal Crossing. It's worthless. As far as I'm concerned, he hoodwinked me.
He did.
So I'd been had. So I went to my Shih Tzu, my office Shih Tzu, Isabel, and I got her to have a stern word with him about being a prick, basically.
Oh wow.
And yeah, you can do that. I mean, you've obviously got the bug net and you can hit people with it. And I don't think those systems would be in there unless they intended for you to use them that way. It's not meant to be peaceful all the time. I think there is meant to be a bit of conflict in there, you know?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny you mentioned that it's quite slow going. It is ironically probably the fastest in Animal Crossing terms, and in terms of like that kind of pacing thing,
Is it?
where it gets you going straight away. That house thing, I think they should have given you your house when you move in, and then you customize it from there. That would have been a better decision. But it really does take off from there, and it's much easier to buy bells. Sorry, to accumulate bells and buy stuff and gather stuff. And yeah, I'm really glad you like it. I can't think of a single person who plays those games and doesn't like them. You know, they're just really good fun.
Yeah, it's definitely very cool, and it's good. I can see it becoming a part of my daily routine, just opening it, playing it for 20 minutes, and then shutting it off again. Very interested to see what this rocket guy's like. Well, I don't want to know what type of animal he is. But could you get into other people's worlds?
I haven't tried it, to be honest, because I had a review copy and I haven't really gone back to it after
of course,
that.
yeah.
But I should do. We should
I
try
really
that
want
out.
to- yeah, I want to go and just see what's going on. I want someone to come in and see my weird house. It's got an easel with a painting of the Nirvana smiley face with the crossed eyes. I just want to, it's very American Psycho, but a very cool game, and I got it on the eShop, which is cool. I never really done that on the 3DS before. I think it was more expensive than buying it from an actual shop, but I went to an actual shop in Bournemouth Town Centre, and unsurprisingly, nowhere had a copy of it. I was going to get the big 3DS as well, trade in my old one, but I couldn't. Retail's dead in Bournemouth specifically.
It really is dead in Bournemouth. Did they not even have an HMV? Because that's like the last remaining sort of bastion.
No, there was like the deal of the week in HMV was that fucking Sonic racing game for full price. Yeah, nice one. You're going to shut down in 5 minutes if you don't sort it out.
I know, it's really bad.
Yeah,
How much was it on the eShop?
It was $34.99, and I saw
Not
it.
bad.
I saw it was $28 on Amazon, but then I get it right now. So instead of having to wait, yeah.
Easy.
Unfortunately, I had to delete everything else off my 3DS to be able to fit it. But never mind.
Yeah, I did that as well. Get the new memory stick, and it's well worth it. But I have one very short Animal Crossing anecdote. Is that when my friend came to my town for the first time, there was this fucking scary resident there. Right, it's this bear who's like rainbow coloured, and he looks like something that Chucky would have. It's this fucked up little patchwork thing that looked like it just come out of some kind of insane asylum, made by an inmate that's just been smeared with shit. And basically, my friend saw it and he went, "What the fuck?" So let me tell you, my friend, you have no idea who's going to move in. Your neighbours, they could really fuck you up.
He's moved in right next to me as well. I woke up and there was just a thing pitched next to me, and I was like, Tom Nook, I've already paid you back some of my loan. I think you should have given me. There's plenty of room here. Bit rude, so I'm not happy with him. Yeah, I might send him a letter.
Do it. That's the only way they'll learn.
Exactly.
So my number one is The Last of Us.
Right.
Obviously, it's a game you reviewed for me, strangely. Well, not for me, but for Games TM.
That's right.
I commissioned it. No one needs to know that. Don't know why I'm talking about it. But yeah, I mean, obviously, Naughty Dog, they know exactly what they're doing. You've talked about it. You loved it. I've played about, I think I actually looked at the stat screen. I'm about 52% of the way in. I'm a little way on from when that kind of it's hard to explain really, because I don't really want to spoil the story, but you saw it in that trailer where the music was playing and the car crashes and the evil humans are there basically, and they lure you in and all that stuff. And a little way along from there, and I like it, but I don't love it. There is a lot to love about it. The script writing is very good compared to your sort of average summer blockbuster. It really is up there in terms of quality. I think after coming off Metro last night, I'm sort of feeling like this Apocalypse is a little bit soft by comparison. Do you see what I mean? Like a little bit of a Hollywood sheen,
I know
which
what you
is
mean,
fine. It's more I Am Legend than The Road to me. And
it's definitely not The Road,
It doesn't have that sort of blackening sense of despair.
No.
And some of the systems are taking me a while to get used to. Obviously, if you played Uncharted, then the combat system it takes a little while to get used to, because you are playing it like a survival game. You're not playing it like a shooter. And I always feel a bit more tension when I fire each bullet, and I'm missing a lot more because I'm worrying about every bullet. Did you get that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And that's probably just good game design, right?
Yeah. What I will say is that the game massively kicks on from where you are. For the first third, I was hovering around the 8 mark. In fact, I thought it was really impressive, and I enjoyed the systems and stuff, but I wasn't playing. I think you mentioned the fact that you end up unstealthing the stealth a little bit quite often, and I was doing that. But yeah, it just really kicked on from that point for me, and then it just basically continued in a crescendo path all the way to the end. Crescendo path, fucking hell.
That probably works.
Yeah, it'll do. It's just nonsense. But so hopefully it will turn around. And also, this is something that I say a lot on this podcast, and so does Chet. The benefit of being able to play the game without any critical reaction, it's almost impossible to go, and especially with reviews like that, to be able to see the game in the purest light, because you've got 9,000 voices, especially the way things are these days with Twitter. You've got so many voices in your head while you're playing it, and as much as you might try and switch them off, it's almost impossible to do so, and especially when a game has got such universal praise.
That's true. I mean, I got that with every game I've played this year, basically, like BioShock and Tomb Raider and stuff like that. I know what you mean, but with this one, it has been louder just because it has really had broad tens across the board from every single kind of, outlet that might be described as cynical or harsh at any time. I mean, only Polygon's giving it a low score really, and it's there probably is an element of that, but I think the problem I'm finding with it is that, like you say, you can break the stealth and get through with action a lot quicker sometimes. And because the checkpointing can be quite harsh, it can put you right to the beginning of a scenario after you spent 20 minutes, like gradually building up, taking out enemies one by one. To have it all kind of undone by a clicker straight away, which is like an insta-kill attack. They bite you. They are one of the most powerful enemies in the game. That sort of, I don't know. And then to just do the same section in 30 seconds when I just throw a Molotov cocktail and everyone dies straight away after luring them in. I mean, to be fair, the fact that I can take those two approaches, that's probably good game design in itself. And every decision they make in there is obviously deliberate. Like the fact that the clickers kill you instantly, I'm sure they thought about that a lot. You can stop them with a shiv, but I'm sure they thought about that a lot before making them insta-kill. Naughty Dog know what they're doing, so I'm sure there's a logic to it. I do really like it. I really like it. I think it's those gamey bits that break me out of it. Like, when you're in that gym and then like a boss character turns up, those blob things that throw grenades at you.
That's the low point of the game, I'd say. I'd say that's the worst. That is the worst part of the whole game.
Yeah, it was like fighting Lazarevich in Uncharted 2, where it just sort of all these great systems just unravel because they couldn't quite do a boss fight properly. And it breaks the fiction of the world a little bit as well, that this enemy is throwing grenades like a boss character would.
Yeah.
But these are small complaints, so there is so much to love about it. The world, the setting gets gradually more and more interesting. The art direction of it becomes much more ambitious, and it's not one of those games that fires its load early on. It really is a slow burn, and it is getting gradually more rewarding.
Yeah, I'd be very interested to see what you think by the time you have actually got to the end. I do think the systems improve, the way that you accept them, well, the way I accepted them improved, and it kind of started to feel a bit more natural. The pacing got a bit sharper as well, and then the writing's just magnificent in sort of the back stretch.
That's the thing. I mean, if it sounds like I'm complaining about the story, I'm really not, because like you say, compared to most games, that they are just a fucking jumble of sentences. In this, you have a rich narrative that's really fucking hard to find in games, and especially when it's done this well. And I will definitely persevere with it, and it's, if nothing else, it'll be one of the most interesting games of the generation. And every fight really can play out completely differently, depending on what point you intervene. The AI is just fantastic. They just adjust, and I mean, it's just like a little playground where things will just completely change on the fly.
Yeah, I do think it's kind of geared towards things fucking up more often than not as well. It's very difficult to play it clean. That you are supposed to like get seen eventually and then react, as opposed to sneak through every time, which I think works better with the human enemies than with the infected, because of the insta kills, and the running ones are kind of annoying. But I mean, I didn't give it a 10, as you well know, but it was very close for me, but mainly because of how powerful the last sort of third of the game is.
Well, and like you say, Troy Baker really is amazing. Like, you barely get any similarity between his depiction of Booker and his depiction of Joel. They are so different. Like, I mean, that guy's a real professional. I mean, people keep calling him the new Nolan North. He's got so much more range, I think, in terms of what he can do. He's amazing. Yeah,
and what I really like about him is that he clearly gives a shit, and that's not to say that Nolan North doesn't and stuff, but he knows about games, and he seems to be not looking for. And I don't want to. This isn't aimed at anyone like Nolan North or Jen Hale or anything like that, because they're not either. But he's not clearly looking for this as a stepping stone, or this is a step down from what he wants to be doing. He clearly, this is what he wants to be doing, and he wants to be the best around. And there will be a case in a year when we're like, oh, I'm not fucking Troy Baker again, you're kidding me. But his range is so good that you might not even be able to pick it up. But he's doing infamous Second Son, isn't he? He's the main guy in that.
See, I saw that at E3 and did not pick that up on that at all.
Yeah, he's Ocelot in Metal Gear 5 as well.
Fantastic. And he was Vincent in Catherine, and he was
brilliant
Batman. Amazing in Catherine as well. Again, completely different type of voice, like completely different character. And he played Batman in Lego Batman 2.
Yeah, and he's the Flash in Injustice as well. So
brilliant guy. And I think this is probably on a par with BioShock in terms of what he brings to this role.
Yeah, I agree. Awesome. I will be intrigued to hear what you think come the end of that game. Right, my number one is Company of Heroes 2, which the reason the podcast is going to arrive a little bit late on the Friday is because the embargo drops at 2 p.m. I've been playing this all day. I don't know much about RTS games, but I have been commissioned to review it, and it's really good. It's really fucking hard. It's taken me a couple of hours to get my head around it. I never played Company of Heroes 1. I have a bit of familiarity with RTS since then. And it's hard to know what to say without delving into the minutiae of what makes it different from other RTS games, and I don't think I'm that massively qualified to do it. What I will say is it nails spectacle really well for a genre that's not typically associated with it. When you ramp up the settings to the highest, which auto-detected me to have the worst settings available, I was like, this game looks fucking shit. And then I went back, I was like, surely I can ramp these up a little bit. Ramped them all the way to the top, and it still ran beautifully, so I don't know what that's all about, so... check that out if you do buy it, if it does the same thing to you. It manages to feel like a Battlefield game, but you're controlling everything. Like, buildings collapse, cover can be shattered, huge explosions knock things over. There's a real sense of drama constantly. You're playing in the campaign as Russian troops in that in that theatre. I don't know anything about history. I've said this so many times. Obviously, I know what happened in World War II. You're fucking shooting Nazis in snow, basically. There are levels where the snow is so bad that it restricts your movement and your troops can freeze out there, apart from your snipers, who are so fucking badass. They go invisible in cover, and they're just fucking cool. So there's cool mechanics where you have to keep certain soldiers warm by putting them in houses or putting them near fire and stuff like that. Every single mission in the campaign feels more like a puzzle than like a big theatre, where that seems to be more reserved for the like the skirmish modes and the online modes and whatnot. But it's a really cool game. I think I'll always prefer turn-based strategy to real time, just because I like to be a bit slower and more thoughtful. And I can't do more than one thing at a time. So having a game, the entire point of it, which is to pull you and have you spinning so many plates that you're always going to be pulled in too many different directions at once. I understand that that's what the appeal of the genre is, but I'm a bit too stupid for that, unfortunately. But it's definitely going to be one of the best examples of this genre. It's clearly a very, very, very competent and well-made game that RTS... I was about to say that RTS fans will love. Fuck me. I don't deserve to say anything for saying that. I'm sure fans of fucking Company Heroes and people who like all that shit will love it. It's really good. It clearly is really good. I don't know what else to say. It's difficult.
Well, I've everything I've seen of it in our office, like people playing it on the PC there, it looks amazing. Just like the kind of fire effects on the tank and like the the actual snow effects as well.
The snow's great.
It's like you say, that genre. It's a hard one to really kind of master in terms of playing it, because like you say, the plate spinning is difficult, but the payoff is the ultimate spectacle that you could never get in turn-based, isn't it? It's really something.
Yeah, I've already got the level that I'm on now. It does a good job of like tutorializing you all through different systems in the game, and I don't think it's the most complex RTS out there, but it still has like base building and resources and all that shit. Where I am now, it's sort of everything's opened out. The missions before are a bit more like, this is the kind of snipery mission where you learn about snipers. This is the fucking the grunt mission where you learn how to get your grunts into other teams. But this one's just like, okay, you've got all this now. Here's a fucking ruck. You've got to take over these points. There's artillery. There's all these different things that can happen, and you get into those great things, which is the same for turn-based and real-time strategy, I think, where you just get like attached to these little fucking hero squads that just pull things out of the bag. I had this one squad that I decided to send off scouting, and they managed to like take people out against insurmountable odds, and they kept reinforcing them, and they were just like, they got promoted. All that stuff's amazing. For me, it took me a while to get into, because the genre is tough for me, learning all the hotkeys and all that shit. But for people who are more familiar with RTS, they'll just walk straight into that, and that won't be an issue. And I think they're going to love it.
That's great. It's the kind of game that makes me want to own a PC, just so I can actually have the ability to play that sort of game.
Exactly.
And, yeah, exactly. And I think that was well worth picking one up just to play that sort of game, because you're always there now when they come out. And I find those sorts of games are really pushing that hardware more than anything, because so much is going on screen, and the effects are so specific now. Like if you zoom in, it really does look amazing.
It looks like it looks like an action game. You can zoom right down to that view, and at first I didn't even realise you could spin the camera and move it around and stuff like that. I was just a fucking idiot, to be honest. But thankfully I've managed to. It's obviously not so complicated and not so esoteric that it's not possible to learn, because it is. And I am actually thoroughly enjoying myself. And it's funny you say that, in fact, because I was thinking as I was playing, it's like, damn, this is one of the reasons I got a PC. It wasn't just to get nice looking first person shooters that I'm going to be able to get on PS4 or Xbox One. It's to be able to do all the cool indie stuff that I've been able to do, and a game like this, which I would have never ever been able to play, and always quite fancied. So it's cool.
It's the same with like that Total War game, the next one coming out for that as well. Like they're just looking so detailed now. Yeah. It's just amazing. Like it really does outstrip anything else you see on PS4 or Xbox One right now. It's something else. Like the upper end of that hardware, it just amazing. And something to be a bit jealous of, I think, if you're just sticking with consoles. Yeah, and it's
a different language to play. Like these aren't the verbs that you use in console games. I know there are RTS games on console, but they're not really the same. It's nice to not be interacting with the game in the same way that I do, twin stick first person shooter, or you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
Absolutely, we'll have to check it out then.
Cool. Well, I guess that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been a joy, John.
It's been an emotional episode. It's been amazing. Thank you very much, Sam, for joining us. Hopefully we'll be able to do it again sometime if Chet decides to take another week off.
Dude, yeah, absolute pleasure. Really, really great to be on this, and big fan of the podcast. So thank you very much for having me.
Fantastic. Please go and buy Games TM. You can read shit that I wrote, read shit that Chet wrote, and obviously it's a brilliant magazine. It's where I started 8 years ago. Still pleased that it's still going strong, and Sam heads up now. Don't forget to follow Sam on Twitter. Are you just Samuel Roberts on Twitter?
Samuel W. Roberts on Twitter.
You've got to get that W in there. Samuel W. Roberts on Twitter. Well worth following. Very funny man. Follow me on Twitter at John Denton. Check out the YouTube channel at Chet and Johns. And leave us a fucking iTunes review. Why don't you? And that'll about do it. I'll see you later.
Which is Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U.
Brilliant.
Again, sounding like a massive prick from going to E3 and playing all these fancy games. I promise you there's a little bit of shit old stuff in here as well. Basically I played 3 tracks from the game. First, HD Mario Kart. I'm sure you saw in the Nintendo Direct thing, they're kind of messing with the perspective a bit to kind of give it a bit of a, I don't know, sort of Mario Galaxy quality where
Can you go up on the ceilings and stuff?
Yeah, side of buildings, that sort of stuff. Okay. You kind of hit these sort of blue gravity bars, and then from there you can sort of shift the perspective. So there's one level set in this sort of seaside town that looked amazing because it's like obviously this big kind of coastline, and you can see right into the distance. And there is a noticeable amount of detail compared to past Mario Kart games. It does look amazing. And yeah, like at one point I just hit the blue bar and I was riding up the side of these kind of like Santa Monica-esque sort of like seaside buildings, and I thought that's actually quite cool because it enables you to think about the track design in a bit of a different way. Wasn't personally a massive fan of the gliding thing in the 3DS version, so yeah, a bit of a relief, and thoroughly enjoyed. I think it will be very, very good and well received, and the kind of gravity stuff gives them a lot more capacity for interesting track design.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit burnt out on Mario Kart. I did enjoy the 3DS version, less so the Wii version. I played it a bit, but it's always got potential to be a really good online game. And with the Wii U actually working online, it needs something, man. It needs something like that desperately, and it's not coming out for a year.
Yeah, exactly. It's a tough one, isn't it? Because I think a desperate Nintendo is a good Nintendo, because we're looking at 3DS now, loads more good games coming out, but I don't feel like we'll see the effects of their kind of creative desperation for a while yet, and this unfortunately is quite a way away. But I think when it turns up, you'll be in the mood for it again. It's
weird that they've just chosen to use the screen as a horn instead of actually using it for anything. I actually prefer that because I like running the Wii U games just on the pad itself. I don't need any tablet integration or whatever. It doesn't really bother me, but it is strange that it's suddenly become almost a non-feature of their console.
Yeah, it's strange. The other thing is that on the screen is you can hit a button, so you can use the motion control within the tab, the person's hair. The barber starts dreaming about a glass of water. Now, who the fuck dreams about a glass of water? That I don't understand. It's really weird. But yeah, it's rubbish. But I thought I'd give it a go, and I was punished for my mistake.
It's officially licensed Mr. Bean merchandise.
Yeah, basically. I think this is the state of the modern license game.
Did Rowan Atkinson just make it on his own, do you think?
I hope so, or he got his kids to make it or something, just to inflate his ego.
Damn. I never knew that existed, but I feel better for knowing that it exists.
John, it serves me right for looking at the free part of the iTunes store. Really, it serves me right for getting my great game design from there.
Yeah, well, I've done it myself, and it's always a bad idea. Talking of bad ideas, my number 10 is Mario Kart Super Circuit, which I've written as Mario Kart SS on my notes, and it says Circuit certainly doesn't begin with S. Yeah, I put this on. I had the 3DS open, and it was one of those free present games that you got for buying a 3DS for about $9 when they cut the price a week later. So they gave us 10 fucking kilobyte games. And the first one I put on yesterday was Mario Kart Super Circuit, because my little boy likes Mario, and I said, "Do you want to watch Mario in the car?" And he's like, "Yeah." I put it on, and what a fucking nightmare that game is. It's just like a stroke in a jar. It's fucking just an absolute horror show. So yeah, I put it on for a minute. The handling's terrible, and the frame rate and everything about it was just like, I don't know, being drilled in the head by a fucking 90s Saturday morning cartoon, not in a good way. So I had to turn it straight off. Mario Grain. I got Mario Grain.
Fair enough. I mean, I actually played that quite recently as well, because I too was suckered into buying a 3DS at a ludicrous price. It's not really a 3D game. It's basically just like a 2D game. It's impossible to work out the perspective of anything going on the screen.
It's so horrible.
It is the worst thing. Yeah, I mean, playing the DS ones or the 3DS ones, that just, I don't know. I mean, they are infinitely superior to that version. There will be no reason to go back to it, you know?
Yeah, I did. I never played it back on the GBA, and and a horror show, an absolute horror show.
Nice. Well, my number 9. This is when I start sounding like an E3 didn't, because
that's cool.
I think. Yeah, so it's not kind of something that's forced every time. I think you have to shoot out specific kind of struts within it to make it fall, but nonetheless, extremely impressive. A really kind of great way to show off that game, even if the game's journalists lay it down a bit.
Did the Xbox One pads, the stuff that's in the force feedback in the triggers, was that working considering it was plugged into a PC?
I didn't feel it, to be honest.
Okay.
I didn't feel any kind of discernible difference. It is a nice pad, I should say, but no, I wasn't getting any of that coming from it, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. It's cool that it works though on PC, so that's good.
Yeah, it's reassuring. I think it was probably just there for kind of posterity's sake, to show they're kind of, they seem to be quite in bed with Microsoft, don't they, EA, this generation?
It does seem that way, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, that's going to be fucking awesome. I've got no doubt about that.
Absolutely.
And I'll have to hear about it for another year or 2 years or whatever.
Awesome.
All right, my number 9, sticking on the 3DS tip, but mine's not. My list sucks, man, compared to yours. F-Zero. I played this game so much, and I still don't. F-Zero GX.
Maximum Velocity.
F-Zero Maximum Velocity. I love this game. I loved it on the GBA. It was the first game that came out on the GBA, wasn't it? And I actually mastered it. I did every single thing. I was so good at it that I could like cut every corner to like a fucking millimeter. And now I can't play it for shit. So that was about 10 years ago, and I've just lost all those skills. But it's still really good. That doesn't make me feel sick. The tunes are good. It's nice and fast. I just want them to make a new one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's been so many years since GX on the GameCube.
Yeah, they're always rock hard, those games, aren't they, as well? But it's like, compared to Mario Kart that you mentioned before, like the kind of 3D plane effect doesn't, like you say, make you feel sick. It's not got the same kind of stroke in a jar effect as
no, it's
Mario
not.
Kart.
It's nowhere near as bad. Yeah, it's good.
Big fan of that series. Those most of those games they gave away on the 3DS are actually pretty good, aren't they?
They are. I mean, it's a hell of a selection. It's a bit of a slap in the face. I think because I've been bitten again, because I bought a Wii U for God knows how much. And I've turned it on not once in the last 3 months. Yeah. Disappointing. But still, Pikmin.
Yeah, well, hopefully I'll be able to turn you around with my number 8, John. Prick. It was Battlefield 4.
That's all right. That'll annoy Chet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, obviously Chet chats about Battlefield every week, and though he says I've got nothing more to say about it, he always has something more to say about it. So
it's normally the longest part of the podcast.
I always enjoy it though, because it's kind of like an outside looking in perspective. It's like a little social experiment now. It's fascinating. But I played the level that everyone saw at the EA conference actually, which I can't remember the name of, but
it's like Shanghai Surprise or something like that. I'm gonna call it that.
It's basically the one where the skyscraper goes down and the guys jump off the top of the of that roof. That was a great demo. That was one of the most impressive parts of the EA conference. Yeah. And I jumped into that with 63 other journalists, PCs hooked up to Xbox One controllers, and had a go. Now, really technically impressive. It does not look quite as good as it did in that demo. I suspect because 64 people, playing at once,
Yeah.
it's a lot to handle, but still really impressive. Problem is, John, and you'll have a bit of this. Games journalists are the worst fucking gamers in the entire
Yeah,
world,
they
aren't
are atrocious.
Exactly. So twice I thought, well, this can't be played like Call of Duty. You guys have to team up and make the most of it. So one guy was basically, I got in a tank. I got into the turret. One guy was driving, and I was controlling the turret. I basically aimed. I killed 3 people, and this numpty drove the tank off like a little ledge and managed to flip it over. And
Standard.
he literally moved 1 meter to flip it over. And then the same thing happened again. I spawned in like a gunboat and I was on the turret, and some guy was rocketing like fucking the Rio video from Duran Duran. Like, and honestly, just ploughed into a bridge within 5 seconds of me spawning and died. Honestly, not as slick when games journalists are playing it.
I do wonder what most games journalists are actually any good at, because they'll moan about military shooters, but they're fucking awful at them whenever they play them at an event.
Yeah, I mean, they really are, honestly. It's just embarrassing. I mean, I only kind of really got to grips with it when I was fighting alongside 2 fairly competent assault players, and I had like, support gun going on. I hung around in that skyscraper for fucking ages, hoping it would come down with me inside like in the demo. Didn't. Just died a bunch of times spawning up there, really.
Did it come down eventually?
No.
Who? Dat. Ninja.
Hello, welcome to episode 68 of Chet and John's Reassuringly Finite Gaming Playlist. My name is John Denton. With me this week is my good friend Samuel Roberts.
Hello, how's it going?
So Samuel is the editor of Games TM. I've known Samuel for about 6 years?
Many years. Me and John, we go way back. We've both pissed on the same freeway in New York at the same time.
Very true.
We've got many memories.
That is actually a true story. So, Samuel, editor of Games TM, veteran games journalist, and brilliantly has been out at E3 in the last week. Chet's fucked off somewhere. He's due a week off, apparently. But anyway, Samuel's going to bring a noise, and here's his number 10.
Absolutely. My number 10 is Haircut Mr. Bean version. Now, you can't have been expecting that, but basically, I'm a big fan of the podcast, and I always listen every week. And Chet always comes out with some games that I've never heard of on Xbox Live Indie Games, which he must be the only one keeping that platform alive. But they've always got names like, Colonel Custer's Magic Muff and things like that. And I kind of wanted to bring something a bit random, so I went onto iTunes Store. I downloaded this game, Haircut Mr. Bean version. I suspect not the reason Rowan Atkinson's got an OBE or whatever, but yeah, the biggest pile of ass in the world. Has the most low-res picture of cartoon Mr. Bean on the menu screen. The point of the game seems to be cutting people's hair while a professional barber, is looking away. That seems to be the premise. I assume haircut is some kind of, template for different types of games, but absolute pile of shit.
So when he's looking, you're not allowed to cut hair?
Basically, yeah. I mean, he gets really angry and then it's game over. And the barber, weirdly, to kind of know that he's going to be turning away so he can start